I saw us having a future.
But you see, I didn't have a say.
And you broke her.
You just finished that reunion and it was a lot. Do you feel like it was fair?
Like in general, the whole reunion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in general, do you feel like everyone was able to say their piece? Did you feel like there was an imbalance when you watched it back? Did it look like how it felt?
Yeah, I think it was pretty balanced. I think, we obviously did spend a lot of time with Nick and Hannah, and I think there could have been other questions asked to other couples, of course. Like there's more information that people always want. But I think it was pretty fair assessment or fair representation of what happened. I mean, it probably looks more heated than it probably felt in the moment. Like maybe that's the difference, but otherwise, like it's pretty, I'm feeling okay about it.
Which part were you like, ooh, that did feel a little bit more spicy than it was?
I don't know. I mean, like my part is like, was pretty spicy to people. Like they were very, they have a lot of opinions about my behavior. And, I think that, it was pretty accurate, right? Like I am someone who's just always going to be about integrity and honesty and accountability. And in that moment, I wasn't necessarily defending someone. I was just necessarily like making sure that people were just being honest, and that someone who's blatantly saying, no, I didn't say something is correcting themselves, is saying, no, you actually did say something. And, but yeah, I think it was spicy a little bit. I mean, that's what we're there to do, is to kind of get what we have to say out. The audience, you guys are just now seeing this. Most of us have had a lot of these conversations out off camera already over the last year, but the audience hasn't. And so we were there to just speak our truth, lay to rest what we have to say, and move on.
One thing that I guess people are still asking about, since they saw your interview afterwards, giving the update on the friendship or lack thereof with Hannah.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more of why your friendship status with Hannah changed after the reunion?
So the reunion was filmed like in the beginning of October, and after the reunion, our relationship kind of changed a bit because of how her apologies went towards Nick and her apology towards Katie. Me and Katie and Hannah have been good friends throughout this year, and we've had ups and downs in that friendship. She hasn't always been the perfect friend, but we've been working through that. And so once the reunion happened and it was her turn to kind of give a sincere apology to Katie, who she's made feel really bad about the whole like Nick and Katie conversation for an entire year, to the point that we couldn't talk about it as friends. So we were expecting more of a more sincere apology, and we just didn't I didn't see that. And so as friends, we just kind of took some time. We're taking time to just kind of gather our thoughts, and Hannah has to work on herself. We're, dealing with what we're dealing with. And so that's why after the reunion, it changed a bit. But prior to the reunion too, you're seeing things on camera, and I lived it with Hannah. I remember being with her off camera, dealing with her feelings about Nick and what was going on. And then to see it on camera and to see the other side of it, it's stark. And it kind of makes you go okay, is this someone I could be friends with? Is this behavior that I want to associate with in my friend group? And ultimately, that's what we're working on.
I think my follow-up question to that, because that all makes perfect sense, and I know that a lot of people want wish fulfillment out of you guys. So the ones who wanted more from Hannah, I guess my follow-up question is, you saw Hannah not giving basically a proper response, knowing in private what that past year has been like. Why at the reunion did you not push a little further for more?
I know it seems like I'm the police of everyone needs to correct themselves at this reunion, but that's not my role. If Hannah had sat there and lied about something she said, or was trying to, basically just lie and say something that's not true, I would have corrected her, of course. But an apology she wasn't apologizing to me. She was apologizing to Nick, and she was apologizing to Katie. And I don't know how they felt about those apologies. They could totally be okay with those apologies. It's not my place to be like, well, that's a shitty apology. Try again. Also, you know, it's just a lot going on stage. Like, it's lights, camera, action. There's an audience there. And so it was their apologies that if it was directed towards me, I probably would have been like, try again. Like, I personally would have probably said try again, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't directed towards me, so it wasn't my place to say, well, correct that apology. It just wasn't.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. For the Katie of it all, it sounds like you're not that much in touch with Katie. Did you want to speak about like?
I live with her.
Okay. Because when you were like, I don't know how she felt about it, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know how she felt about it, like, in that moment while I'm on stage, right? So I'm looking at her next to my mom, and I'm like, okay, does she like that apology? Like, do I need to so it's not really my place. And I was like, okay, maybe I was like, I know we're going to have more conversations. And I believe I say that. I don't know if it ever makes the cut, but there need to be more conversations to be had. But, yes, I live with Katie. We're really good friends. She has been there for me for the past year.
Yeah. Okay. That's good news.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Ramses of it all. Okay. Ramses finally gave an interview on NIL, so we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
Now, he wants to get into basically the physicality and that it wasn't just sex, according to him. Okay. Apparently, when you're out, you don't want to be touched if it's even the petting. And that just, yes, he's rejected it physically. But yeah, I'm still. Let's talk about it. Yeah, what do you have to say to that?
Yeah, you know, I did listen to that, and he's right. It wasn't just about sex. It was about physical intimacy. But you do see that in the conversation. You see me say, well, it's when you're petting me, I don't want to be pet when I'm overstimulated. Like, I find it interesting that he felt the need to clarify that, because I don't think that was really the question, because we see it's not just about the sex. It was about physical intimacy in general. And that was the first time on camera. That was the first time I was hearing that he was having issues with that and feeling rejected. So as you can see, I'm very quiet. I'm not usually a quiet person, because I usually just talk. But I'm really trying to think, because I'm like, wait, what did I just miss? Like, we are very physically affectionate. So for him to say, like, the 3 times that I told him, please stop petting me, I have nothing to say about it. Because I mean, even after the sexual intimacy intercourse, right? Like, I get up to go clean myself off, and then I lay back down, and it's very personal about why
Can we talk about that comment? Because I'm sorry, it was disgusting to me.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so let's talk about how people have come at you for being very open about hooking up with him afterwards, but truly giving broad strokes. Sometimes I got drunk. If I'm in town, that happens. People do that. But him saying, I don't want to give the details, and yet walk through every detail, including clean yourself off.
Yeah. And that part bothers me, just because, like, I clean myself up, and then I put on clothes. I have past sexual traumas, and I have a reason why I don't like sleep naked or stuff like that. And when he said that, that's where I was just kind of like, bruh, like, we've talked about this. And then not only that, but I reminded him before that whole conversation that happened on camera, I had reminded him when he brought up, like, oh, I'm anxious. And then you see the conversation happening. I said, hey, we've only known each other for, I think, a week physically. I was like, so we're still learning what we need from each other, like what you need. If you need me to do this, A, B, C, and D, I was very compromising. So we had to just know each other physically for a week. And that's all I want to say is, like, you got to learn each other. We were a very physical couple. For him to allude that maybe we weren't is crazy. You can ask the other castmates, to be honest. We made people uncomfortable with our PDA. It's just a matter of, like, what he wanted. Maybe I wasn't giving it to him, and he wasn't really also communicating that fully to me either. So
yeah,
I don't know. I didn't like the whole, like, she gets up right after sex. I just was like, okay. whatever.
It's the play-by-play for me that I'm like,
Yeah.
but Marissa's getting a lot of backlash for how much you are open, but it's like it's never crude. It's never crude and like so focused on the body. Now, Ramses says that he's well aware of the effects of birth control on a woman's body. Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
I think he's aware of it. I think to like as much as a man can be, to be honest.
Exactly.
Like, I think he's aware of it probably a little bit more than some other men, absolutely, because he does work in a field where he works with women and all this other stuff, and he has women friends. So I'm sure he's aware of it, but and yeah, he's aware, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay. So then you guys have talked about you decided to try the rhythm method, including other things. Now, for me personally, I'm like, that is so much work. She's already going to law school. She's already trying to start like this relationship. You're driving so long. And now we're doing the rhythm method.
Yeah. But the thing with that is like, I was already doing that prior.
Oh, okay.
All I was doing was tracking, right? Okay. And all I did was track my period. And I was like, we could use a condom during my ovulation, like that window. And I was okay with doing that at the time because I was also okay with having a child. And I did think that the conversation is kind of weird that you guys see, but like, I do think that if I were to have a child, Ramses would have been a part of that, but you just kind of never know. Looking back at it, I'm like, what? I wasn't being too smart. Like I should have been like, hey, like if you're not ready for kids for sure, we have to figure out another option. And that could have been non-hormonal birth control as well. But we did talk about vasectomy, and I just was just like, I wanted to hone in on the fact like I'm not the only one responsible for this. But so he did download the app and all that other stuff and like was tracking with me. But that's the only conversation I will say like he gets a little bit of a pass on.
Is tracking just the dates, or it's like body temperature and everything? For everyone who doesn't know how involved the rhythm method is, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I don't think I'm using the rhythm method. I am just tracking my period on an app. That is it. I'm not tracking like my basal temperature or anything. It's something I'm interested in doing, but I know it's a lot to track. So I am not doing that. That's too much. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify what the rhythm method meant.
Yes.
I am curious, was religion or culture an influence in those options being left on the table?
No. Religion, no.
Okay.
For the birth control stuff? No, I was on I had an IED for like 7 years, the Mirena, and I went through a period where I had like alopecia, chronic yeast infection, chronic BV, and I was dealing with a lot of stuff and like horrible acne. So I was like, take this thing out because I wonder if it's playing a role with my chronic yeast and BV. And so we took that out, and I was like, I really don't want to do it again. It was so painful. And I didn't want to do it again. So I was like, and I talked to my doctor, some of my medication I was on, some of the hormonal birth control wouldn't have like done well with my arthritis medication and my migraine medication. So I was just tracking at that time.
Okay. All right.
And I have no problem wearing condoms. Like I say, like I don't have a problem.
Of course you don't. Like that's yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about the timing of when your season come out. Your season is titled DC. You guys are actually all over the place. And of course, it had to come before this election. And one of your storylines was that discussion with Ramses about being part of the military, what the U.S. military is on a global scale, and all of that. We don't revisit it at the reunion. Was it ever revisited?
I mean, Ramses and I definitely had multiple conversations about the military and politics. So we definitely talked about it more, but nothing like about like the current election. We didn't really talk about that. No.
Looks like that's all for our questions.
Hopefully I answered everything you needed.
No, you absolutely did. It was a great conversation. Thank you for being so vulnerable with your story and being so open. And I just wish you all the well. Oh, I want one more. Your boyfriend.
Oh, yes, I'm dating a guy. I'm dating a man.
Can we at least get a name? We see his face.
I'm not gonna share his name yet. I don't know. We haven't really. I'm sure I could. I just prefer not to because I just rather protect that because I am open about like everything else in my life. Like, and I will eventually probably just slip it in a freaking text one or like in a story one day and say his name. But I will eventually. But he's good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Have a good one.